What would you say you do here?
Breaking and exciting news. Trump names Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be the heads of his Department of Government Efficiency. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. This is where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing truth of other freedom fighters, because truth conquers. But you can't conquer anything unless you're strong. And here to help us get stronger is Ancestral Supplements grass-fed beef liver. Beef liver is nature's multivitamin. It helps make your metabolism faster, energy higher, and cravings lower. My friend, it is time to make yourself healthy and strong with grass-fed beef liver. Get it at ancestralsupplements.com/JPReacts and use code JPReacts for 15% off. Now let's get into it. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of this exciting announcement from the great President Trump in just a second. But first, a tweet from one of the heads of the Department of Government Efficiency himself, Elon Musk. And he is responding to this Twitter user saying, "News, President Trump gives superhuman Elon Musk 530 days to make government efficient." Elon responds to that, "It will be done much faster." I love it. And I love the fact that this department's goal is to make this department not exist anymore. It is just a beautiful thing, long overdue thing. When I was a wee lad, I'd hear about ridiculous government spending and I'd be like, who cares? Like, whatever, they're spending money, stupid. Well, then once I started paying taxes, I realized the government does not spend the government's money because the government does not have any money of their own. The government only has our money. They're a steward of it. You just imagine what would happen if a hedge fund manager managed your money the way the government manages your money. It would be the world's worst investment. You're like, hey, here's $100,000. What can you do with it? And they'd be like, well, we can probably turn this $100,000 into $10,000. Watch us do it. And I've heard Elon talk about how before, obviously inflation's a problem. He talks about how government spending is one of the major contributors to inflation. So the devaluing of our money, let alone the ineffectiveness of the government spending our money, is a major concern. So let's hear it from President Trump himself, which, by the way, the past week and a half since President Trump's been elected, this is an election like no other than I've seen, even 2016 when Trump took office. Because normally it's like everybody promises change. Granted, the problems have been more magnified in recent years, but typically politicians are like, hey, I'm going to do change. We're going to do change, okay? And then the people they bring in, it's like, well, that's either the same people or the exact same kind of people that created the problems and lack of change in the first place. Trump is doing things way different this time. So, President Trump's statement on November the 12th, 2024, AD to be exact. Statement from President Donald J. Trump. I am pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, great is capitalized, working in conjunction with American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which I'm sure Elon loves because he's been promoting Dogecoin for a while. Together, these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agency essential to the Save America movement. This will send shockwaves through the system and anyone involved in government waste, which is a lot of people, stated Mr. Musk. It will become potentially the Manhattan Project of our time. Republican politicians have dreamed about the objectives of DOGE for a very long time. Keep in mind as you're hearing about this, it's like, this is all good. We'll get to what the mainstream media is saying about this, how they can take an objectively good thing and spin it to make it a bad thing. Nobody's going to believe it anymore, but they're doing it. We'll see. To drive this kind of drastic change, the Department of Government Efficiency will provide advice and guidance from outside of government and will partner with the White House and Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before. That's right. The government operates like the government, not a business. Not an entrepreneur, not efficient. You look at Kamala's campaign spending versus Trump's campaign spending. You see a government model of spending versus an efficient businessman, entrepreneurial method of spending. The government's way of doing things. Go to the post office or go to the DMV. You'll see inefficiency. That's how apparently most things in the government work, and that's what Trump, Vivek, and Elon are out to change. Last paragraph. I look forward to Elon and Vivek making changes to the federal bureaucracy with an eye on efficiency and at the same time making life better for all Americans. Importantly, we will drive out the massive waste and fraud which exists throughout our annual $6.5 trillion of government spending. Holy cow, Batman. They will work together to liberate our economy and make the U.S. government accountable to we the people. Their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. That's an end date. This isn't like, hey, here's a new agency that's gonna become a parasite on the system. Like, no, this is a new agency that has a date to die. They better do their jobs before the death date. And Elon's like, yeah, we're going to do it way faster. We'll get back to the video in just a second, but first, we've all felt the stress of rising costs. But one of the biggest offenders, it's not gas, it's not groceries, it's healthcare. Health insurance premiums alone have increased by 47% over the last 10 years. So ask yourself these two questions. Is your money being optimized? And is your doctor practicing traditional sick care medicine? At the wellness company, they take a different path. They blend holistic, naturalistic, and preventative medicine while cutting out the middlemen and government bureaucrats. That's how they created the One Wellness Elite membership. This is care for the modern era. How does it work? Well, for only $100 a month, you get 2 free medical-grade nutraceuticals per month, free prescriptions on over 800 of the most common medications, access to concierge telemedicine available at a moment's notice, also free. Plus, you get an additional 15% off all supplements or emergency kits. There is no trickery or fine print in what I just said. What are your expenses per month between supplements, prescriptions, and doctor's visits? If it's $100 or more, you should consider the One Wellness Elite membership. It's care you'll actually use every month and save money along the way. This is not insurance, it's well care. To learn more about this incredible membership, go to twc.health/JPReacts and click memberships. And use code JPReacts at sign up for 15% off. That's twc.health/JPReacts. One Wellness Elite memberships are the way. Enjoy. A smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy will be the perfect gift to America on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I am confident they will succeed. Kind of think they will too. You might say, well, how inefficient is the government spending? Dude, I saw this. Colin Rugg posts this on Twitter. In honor of Elon and Vivek being picked as heads of the Department of Government Efficiency, here are some of the dumbest uses of your tax dollars. $20,000 to drag shows in Ecuador. $30,000 to study the secret language of butchers in Paris. $750,000 for the New York Metropolitan Opera fire alarm. $350,000 to develop AI smart toilets. Some people apparently aren't smart enough to use a toilet, so they got to make this toilet smart enough to capture the people's waste. And $660,000 to study the impact that COVID had on Russian women. I've been curious about that myself. Here's some more stats coming in from Ashley St. Clair on Twitter. $1.5 million studying the effects of yoga on goats. Well, we didn't know that, so we got to study it. $1.7 billion maintaining empty buildings. $5 million on a campaign to promote an alternative music scene to get hipsters to stop smoking. $2 million to create an internship program that resulted in the hiring of 1 full-time employee at the Department of Agriculture. Could you imagine spending $2 million to ultimately hire 1 employee? In 2021 alone, the government managed to misplace $281 billion in payments. By the way, did you ever hear about that $6 billion that U.S. accidentally sent Ukraine on top of the other couple $100 billion we already sent Ukraine on purpose? $1 million studying the effects of music on dairy cows. We're getting very farm animal-like. $1.7 million to study the effects of alcohol on fish. And lastly, this comment is pretty darn important from Hans Manchuk. The government also spent several $1 million for the development of deadly viruses in Wuhan. This investment resulted in a negative return totaling approximately $20 million. See if you can find a stockbroker who can invest your money like that. Now, to give you a little bit of a taste of the minds of Vivek and Elon, here's a clip from Vivek when he was on Lex Fridman's podcast, and he's just doing a thought experiment. What you're hearing, it's not necessarily here's the policy, here's how we're going to implement this change with our Department of Government Efficiency. But you just hear a guy certainly way more intelligent than I am talking about making things more efficient in the government.
Get in there on day one, say that anybody in the federal bureaucracy who is not elected representatives obviously are elected by the people, but of the people who are not elected, if your social security number ends in an odd number, you're out. If it ends in an even number, you're in.
That's fast.
There's a 50% cut right there. Of those who remain, if your social security number starts in an even number, you're in. And if it starts with an odd number, you're out. Boom. That's a 75% reduction. Then literally stochastically, okay? One of the virtues of that, it's a thought experiment, not a policy prescription. But one of the virtues of that thought experiment is that you don't have a bunch of lawsuits you're dealing with about gender discrimination or racial discrimination or political viewpoint discrimination. Actually, the reality is you didn't bring the chisel, you brought a chainsaw. I guarantee you, do that on day one.
And on that, like the efficiency of the way we're cutting waste, we're going to do it in a mindful way where we're not setting ourselves up for a bunch of lawsuits accusing us of discrimination, which then would cost a lot more money, take a lot more time, and ultimately make things less efficient while you're trying to make it efficient. But his method for trimming the fat is just based on these numbers, not anything that can set them up to be sued for discrimination, which you got to think if they're firing tens of thousands of people, maybe more. By the way, best of luck to them. But if you're not effective and efficient, then see ya. But being able to fire them while avoiding the downside of those lawsuits, I wouldn't have thought of that. Say more, Vivek.
And do step two on day two. On day three, not a thing will have changed for the ordinary American other than the size of their government being a lot smaller and more restrained, spending a lot less money to operate it. And most people who've run a company, especially larger companies, know this. It's 25% of the people who do 80 to 90% of the useful work. These government agencies are no different. So now imagine you could do that same thought experiment, but not just doing it at random, but do it still at large scale while having some metric of screening for those who actually had both the greatest competence as well as the greatest commitment and knowledge of the Constitution.
I love that. Have another metric where you're also screening so the people who are getting cut aren't the ones who are the most productive and have the greatest knowledge and commitment to the Constitution. Could you imagine that? The government employees that are left are the ones that have proven efficiency and proven the greatest commitment to the Constitution. I like that, Vivek. Well, who doesn't like this is the mainstream media, who anytime a good idea passes through their lens, they say that's a bad idea. That offends our captors here, the deep state. So we're going to spin this a negative way. So let's see what some Yahoo on MSNBC had to say, which, by the way, MSNBC is currently on its deathbed. I've been enjoying seeing the shed of waste of the old paradigm of the decentralized power, the system having control of the people. That's all. We, the people, have control. That is proven with this election, and seeing the debris crumble from that old paradigm. Let's take a look at a piece of that debris called MSNBC.
Well, Elon Musk suffered a humiliating demotion tonight.
So keep in mind, he's talking about Trump just appointed Elon and Vivek as the heads of the Department of Government Efficiency. They're already spinning it. Elon suffered a humiliating demotion.
By Donald Trump. The theory that Elon Musk might become, in effect, a co-president.
I've never heard that theory. Not from Trump, not from Elon, not from anyone who has their head screwed on remotely straight onto their shoulders.
Or the real president, while Donald Trump, in effect, retires to a life of golfing, suffered a significant setback tonight when Donald Trump announced that he would give Elon Musk a job that does not exist and will last, at most, 18 months.
So this guy is great gaslighting. He's like, remember that thing how Elon was positioned to be co-president? Well, that's not going to happen. It's like, no, we don't remember that. We never heard that. I think you just made that up. Yeah, I just made it up, but it's not going to happen anymore. Isn't that humiliating for Elon? Well, also, that's just in. Trump gave him a job that at most is going to last like a year and a half. What a loser. It's like, bro, take a look at your paycheck compared to Elon's, your net worth compared to Elon's. Do you think Elon's doing this for the money? I guarantee this Yahoo is only doing it for the money, and he's probably sold his soul to do it, and he's probably not even aware that MSNBC is for sale, and they'll get next to nothing for it, and I guarantee he will be out of his job as a useful idiot well before Elon's job, that part of his job is to make sure his job no longer exists, before his job's up. With that said, I love the mainstream media spin. I'm going to keep paying attention to what they have to say, because now it's like the loony bin. It always has been, but now everybody knows, like, well, it's definitely like the loony bin. With that said, my freedom-loving friends, this is the latest on President Trump making amazing changes already, appointing Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be the heads of the Department of Government Efficiency. Let me know what you think about this call in the comments below. I'll look forward to hearing your thoughts. I look forward to seeing you on our next video as well. But until then, stay free.